why are the odds stacked against the 49ers winning the Super Bowl this year, Jesse?
Well, so everybody talks about the Brock Purdy thing. No rookie quarterbacks ever won a Super Bowl. We get all that. But decided to start looking at win streaks going into the playoffs and how that played into things. The 49ers should be riding a 10-game winning streak going into the playoffs, which on the surface sounds great. But when you look at it, since 2000, there's been 6 teams that have had at least a 10-game winning streak going into the playoffs. 3 of them lost their first game. Back then, it was divisional games. So 3 of them lost their first game. Only 2 of those teams have made it to the Super Bowl. Both of those teams were led by Tom Brady. And only one of those 6 teams has actually won a Super Bowl. So I think a lot of us have this thought like, oh, you don't, it's tough to win 14 in a row. You want to get a loss in there to kind of break things up. You hear a lot of people talk about it, but there was never really numbers behind it. And so I wanted to go look at the numbers and see if that was a myth, just something we think, or if that's real. Unfortunately, it is a very, very real thing. So when you couple that with the rookie quarterback, a team that did it, a team that didn't win the Super Bowl, but was on a 14-game winning streak riding into the playoffs, was actually that Steelers team that had a rookie Ben Roethlisberger. Again, they didn't win the Super Bowl. So similar to what the 49ers have, I don't think it's the end of the world, Grant. I mean, I would prefer a winning streak over a losing streak going into the playoffs or backing in. But there is some history there that says that's not necessarily the best way to go into the playoffs.
That's a very interesting historical context. The one thing I did want to bring up, because there's always an exception.
For
sure. It's important to look at the exceptions. The 1984 49ers. The 1984 49ers. They almost went undefeated. They lost 1 game, week 7. Just like this team. Never lost again. That team legitimately did have a great defense. I think they gave up 18 points per game. This Niners defense giving up like less than that, but they're getting exposed recently. It's been done by this franchise in the past. But so I mean, this you could take heart in that. It could be done, but not just that. Like rookie quarterback, there's it's never been done ever been done.
Ever.
So there's that. Yeah.
Yeah, there. Like I said, obviously every season is different. I'm not saying that's the reason they can't win the Super Bowl, but it is interesting that's because, like I said, a lot of people talk about it like, oh man, it's a lot to do, but actually putting numbers to it is like, this is a real thing. And when you look at the guys that have won it since 2000, or the guy that won it, it was like, oh, it was Tom Brady. Like, of course, right. Tom Brady was the one to win it, but he also was in a situation where he lost it to the Giants when they went 16-0. So yeah, it's an interesting real stat. The other difference is this, Grant, unlike those other teams who got a bye week, and this could be a good thing because you get to keep that momentum going. I just said that 3 of those 6 teams lost in their first playoff game, which for them was divisional round. The 49ers, they're not going to have that break, barring Philly somehow losing this week, which I don't see happening. They're not going to have the break. So they're going to be able to ride this all the way through and keep that hot streak going, which then comes down to the old way of thinking, okay, if you have a bye, do you rest? How does that work? Does it hurt you? The 49ers most likely aren't going to have to deal with that. And that is a major difference.